Khalsa College for Women, I, Diksha Sidana, welcome our resource person and participant in third session. Our very own Dr. Vikas Deep is the speaker of this session, though Sir needs no introduction. But I would take this privilege to introduce Sir. Sir is working as assistant professor in
Ma'am,
University School of.
I'm sorry. I think I don't need any introduction. Like we did it yesterday. Let's save on time. And if you, and
Okay,
please,
okay, Sir. It will be our pleasure to have you again, Sir. Okay, over to you, Sir.
thank you. So I'm so sorry. I had to disrupt you, ma'am. Thank you
No
so
problem,
much.
sir. Sir, you need no
No, I respect your sentiments. Thank you
introduction.
so much.
Everybody knows
Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
My pleasure. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Once again, welcome to you, the third session of the day. Let me see because it's a little bit dicey. Can you see my PPT? Is my PPT visible?
Yes. Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay, I'll just make it full screen. Okay.
It's perfect, sir.
Yeah. Okay. A very good afternoon to everybody. So, today's discussion is basically concentrated at factor analysis. I think a lot of groundwork has been done by Dr. Amanpreet Singh. He has made sufficient base and he has made my job very easy, to carry forward the session. So today I'll be discussing factor analysis, and what all we'll be discussing in this is, see, I have divided my session into 4 parts. First, we'll try to understand what factor analysis is. Then what are the basic concepts related to factor analysis? And fourth is, we'll use hands-on exercise using SPSS. We'll run factor analysis and we'll look at the output and we'll try to interpret each and every part of the output. And finally, then we'll work on scale reliability. So I think we have we have sufficient time, I think 1.5 hours. So let's see how best we can cover. So basically what factor analysis is. See, factor analysis is when a researcher is interested in identifying some smaller number of factors when you have large number of observed variables. See, at time what happens, like once we are carrying out a research, we have too many variables to handle. Let's say we have 50 statements or 60 statements or 80 statements, or at times I've seen 109, 200 statements where we are collecting data. So let's say we have captured data on 200 variables. And once you have captured data on 200 variables and you need to make a statistical interpretation with respect to those variables, it will become, it's a Herculean task and it's very difficult to handle 200 variables separately. So what do? We do a planned exercise that whatever variables we have, those maybe 50 variables or 100 variables or 200 variables, let us reduce those variables to some certain factors. And how do we reduce those variables? Basically what we do, we club some certain variables which are similar, which are correlated to each other, and then we give that the name a factor. Let me give an example. एक छोटी सी example देता हूँ. Let's look at our home. ठीक है, हम अपने घर की एग्जाम्पल से मैं आपको समझाने की कोशिश करूंगा कि व्हाट फैक्टर एनालिसिस इज, व्हाट फैक्टर्स आर. लेट्स से कि हमारे घर में बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं. At our home we have vegetables. At our home we have various kitchen utensils. At our home we have books. At our home we have various let's say items for the drawing room. We have different things. We have toys. We have let's say different musical instruments and all those things, right? Now they are spread across all the house, but for easy identification and easy understanding, like if you have to find out for a vegetable, where do we go? We go to the kitchen. If you have to find out a utensil, where do you go? We go to the kitchen. So that means like utensils, vegetables, and all these things, they are related to kitchen. So kitchen is one factor which is like putting together all those related items. And like if I have to find out a book, where I'll go to my study room. If I have to find out my laptop, where I'll go to my study room. If I have to find out, let us say, my table lamp, or I have to find out my headphone, I'll again go to my study room. So like that study room has become one factor where all the items which are related to that study room, they are put it there. similarly in factor analysis, like we have lot of variables on which we are capturing data, but there are certain variables which are correlated with each other, and those all correlated variables, they could be clubbed together under one name. So then it is called factor. So factor analysis is nothing but it is a data reduction technique. So most of the time we are confused with like factor analysis. Some of my friends, they call factor analysis as a statistical technique or a statistical test. But let's be very clear, factor analysis is not a statistical test. It's a only statistical technique. It's a technique to basically reduce our data set. It is not a test, right? So we can, like, once we have reduced our data set from number of items to few factors, then we can perform certain statistical tests on those factors, like depending upon what kind of dependent variable we have and what kind of independent variable we have. So to sum up, like, what is factor analysis? Factor analysis is basically variables that are highly correlated among themselves, combined into factor and independent of other subsets. What does that mean? Like, one factor is not correlated to the other factor. Like, if you are looking for some kitchen item, you will not find that kitchen item in the drawing room. Or if you're looking for certain book, if you have a study room at home, like, that book will be available only in the study room. If I am looking for some toy, it will be only in the baby's room. So that means, like, there are different subsets which are independent of each other, but each subset has items which are interrelated. So I think I'm making sense. Like, what is a factor? Factor is basically like all items put together which are highly correlated with each other, and the factors are, one factor is uncorrelated from the other factor. Why? Because that is a altogether different subset, right? So basically, at times we have to measure constructs. So what are constructs? Constructs are like, sometimes there are certain variables which could not be measured directly. Like, let us say job satisfaction. It's very difficult to measure job satisfaction directly. Like, if I ask somebody, are you satisfied with your job? Just asking him yes or no will not give any meaningful result. Why? Because job satisfaction, it's only degree. Like yesterday we have discussed, there is a difference in kind and there is a difference in degree, right? So in these kind of researches in variables, we are trying to measure the degree, not the kind. So we have like different degrees of measurement. So for measuring the different degrees, so what we do, like, we ask certain indirect statements to collect data about that unobserved variable. Like, let us say I wish to understand certain, let's say let's look at the very famous scale, service quality scale, which was given by Parshuraman. So that has 5 factors, like physical appearance, tangibility, assurance, right, empathy, and all those things. Now those 5 factors, they cannot be measured directly. Like, if I ask somebody how empathetic is Punjab Police, how empathetic is this hotel while providing you the services, like, it's very difficult to measure directly. So what we do, like, for measuring empathy or for measuring tangibility or for services or for measuring like a physical appearance, we ask certain questions which represent that unobserved variable. So in factor analysis, like, whenever we have constructs, so the variables which could not be measured directly, so we use factor analysis, right? So I believe, I think uh, we have made a beginning where we could understand, like, where do we apply factor analysis. Factor analysis is basically, it's a data reduction technique where we put together highly correlated items together, or the variables together, and the different factors, they are uncorrelated with respect to each other. Examples, we have discussed numerous examples. Like, I gave you the example of a home, I gave you the example of Cervicale scale. We can have certain consumer behavior factors, maybe, which affect going to shopping malls and all that, like convenience, or maybe ambience, or maybe like the display. All these are different factors, but they cannot be measured directly. So that is how we use factor analysis. So Ma'am, can you close this screen? This is okay. So, so factor analysis is like okay, we have discussed. Now there are two kinds of techniques. One is called exploratory factor analysis, and another is called confirmatory factor analysis. I think most of the time we are confused between like what is EFA and what is CFA. See, EFA is basically like when like we are building theories, exploring the underlying dimensions that could have cause correlation among observed variables. See, like we are trying to build a new theory or the phenomena which we are not aware, and we are trying to capture that item data through certain items, and we are trying to identify the underlying factors for building a theory. So EFA we use when we are trying to build a theory, but CFA is confirmatory factor analysis. Like we have already a theory, but we want to empirically test that theory. Like what does that theory holds good? Like let's say again, Parshuraman has given a model, Surveycule model. Like he has built a theory that these are the five factors which like lead to uh, like for quality for this service quality perception gap, right? So confirmatory factor analysis is basically empirically testing the theories which has already been established. So confirmatory factor analysis is the next stage. Once we have a theory and we want to test that theory empirically in given condition, whether it holds, whether there is certain change or it has become obsolete. So that then we use CFA, right? So but today's discussion is only on EFA. CFA will be discussed tomorrow by another resource person. So like today we are discussing only EFA, where we are trying to explore where we are trying to identify the new factors based on the items. So basically, there are two methods for exploratory factor analysis. One is principal axis factoring, and another is principal component analysis. So that basically the difference is only mathematical in nature. We'll not be discussing in detail like where we use PFA or PCA, but like more or less in our research till the PhD level, we are using PCA method. So most of the time, like whatever factor analysis will be concentrating on, that will be related to PCA. So there are certain basic like definitions which are like let me close this participants window.
Sorry for interruption, sir. Sir, there is a dialog box open on your
That's
screen.
what, yeah, that's what I'm trying to close. Yeah, is it closed now? It's again appearing. I
No,
don't know
sir.
what is happening with this. Is it okay now?
No, sir. It is still there.
This please move this window away from the shared screen. This is the dialog box,
Yes, sir. Yes,
or
sir.
there is some other dialog box.
This is the dialog box.
I don't know. It's not going as okay.
Now it.
So like
Hmm.
yeah, it's again appearing. I don't know what is wrong with this. So we have discussed EFA. We have discussed CFA. Next is yeah. So like I'll tell you certain basic concepts which are related to factor analysis. Then we'll take an exercise in SPSS to understand the entire process. So the factor analysis, the process starts with the extraction. So process of obtaining underlying factors, like what are different factors which we need to process, bring out, that is called extraction method. Then factor loadings we'll discuss. I think I'll not explain these factor loadings here. Once we do the practical exercises, I'll show you the factor loadings. Then I'll try to correlate it with the theories. Factor loading is basically nothing. Whatever factors we have extracted based on our different items, the correlation of each factor with that particular variable is factor loading, right? So I think this will be more clear once we are doing a practical exercise. So let's move on to SPSS. I'll do the SPSS exercise, and meanwhile I'll keep toggling between SPSS and like PPG. And Diksha ma'am, please keep me informing if the screen is not toggled, because this is the limitation of Zoom. Like as a presenter, I'm not, I could not see, I can't see like what screen I'm sharing with the participants. So in case,
Oh,
if I'm saying it is a PPT screen, if it is not there, please interrupt me, right, ma'am?
sure,
So
sir.
right
Sure,
now
sir.
I'm trying to shift over to the SPSS screen.
Okay, sir.
So I'm trying to shift to the SPSS screen. Yeah. Can you see my SPSS screen now?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, fine. Absolutely great. Okay. So let's first try to understand what this data is. Then we'll apply factor analysis on this data. I'll do it step by step. And then I'll try to correlate it with the concepts which are related to the factor analysis, right? So let's say, like as I have discussed yesterday, this is the basic mean editor of SPSS. And there are, like, if you look at the bottom part of this screen, there are two views, data view and
Sir, your voice is not audible.
it's muted. Now, is it clear now? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir. Yes, sir, it is audible now.
Okay, fine. Thank you, ma'am.
My pleasure.
Now, if you look at this data, this I am in variable view. You look at the first row. In first row, there is a variable in the name of C1, right? Then its type is numeric, its width is given. Then there are certain values are given. Values are, if I like to, one is strongly agree, two is disagree, three is indifferent, four is disagree and strongly agree, right? So this data is basically related to cultural adjustments. So like from where I have taken this file, I think the author of the file, he has removed the label. Probably the author did not wanted to share like the each statement. So like the label is not there. Basically label is which defines like what is C1, what is C2, what is C3, what is C5. But just to make you conversant, like there are uh, 20 statements from C1 to C20 on which we'll be applying factor analysis. And these C1 to C20, these statements are basically related to certain HR study, related to certain cultural adjustments. And we are trying to find out certain cultural issues. What are the cultural factors for adjustment of different employees in different cultures, right? So like if you look at the variables, C1 variable, it's a numeric variable. Again, it has been measured on 5-point Likert scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Then missing values are none. It's a right align. And this is an ordinal type of data. So that means the data type is ordinal. Why? Because we have three types of data: scale, ordinal, and nominal. And this we have taken Likert scale data has we have taken as a ordinal. Though there is a lot of debate like whether it is a ordinal or interval, but most of the researchers, they agree that this is a ordinal data. Why? Because the intervals could not be determined in these subjective kind of techniques, right? So this is a variable view. Then we have, there is a data view. This is the data pertaining to various variables which have been captured. And like let's say for respondent one, this is the score on C1, this is the score on C2, C3, C4, C5. So up to C20, all the data is there. So similarly, the number of respondents. So data is for, let's say, I think about something 400. It's for 203 respondents. The data is there, right? So how do we like go for factor analysis? We'll go step by step, and then we'll try to understand the interpretation along with the basic concepts. So what is the first thing when we have a SPSS data? What is the first thing we'll do? Anybody from the participants, like this is an SPSS file which is with us, right? So before starting with my any like operation or any process in SPSS, so what is the first thing which I'll do? Diksha ma'am, can you take any responses from the participants? What is the first thing we'll do? Any responses, ma'am?
No, sir, there is no response yet.
Okay. So what is the first thing we need to do? I think why? Because it is very important that there should not be any missing value.
So,
Yeah.
they are saying descriptive statistics, some are saying frequencies.
Okay. Yes. Descriptive statistics, that is a altogether different ball game. But I think the most important is we need to measure the frequencies. Why we need to measure the frequencies? Because frequencies will ensure that there is no missing value on any variable which we the data which we have captured from the various respondents. So how do we do that? So first thing, let's go to analyze. Is everybody with me? Everybody is on the SPSS screen, because this is the limitation. We cannot have hands on together, but you have to watch my screen carefully.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you click at analyze, and at analyze, like you look at descriptives, and at descriptives, you go to frequencies, right? Now, once you go to frequencies, like you see two windows, one is the left window, another is the right window. On left window, what is there? In left windows, there are different variables for which we have collected data and we have transferred it to the SPSS. So like this is the set of variables for which we have the data available. But there is one right window, right? That right window is a empty window, right? So what is that empty window? So whatsoever variable we have in the left window and whatever variable we have, and we transfer it to the right window, so all the variables which are in the right window, only those variables they'll undergo the analysis process, right? So we can analyze only those variables which will be moved from the left window to the right window. Am I okay? I think
yes, sir. So please try to remove the dialogue. There is no question yet.
I don't know, ma'am, why it's not going like.
Actually, participants are not able to see the screen. That's why they are requesting to remove it.
It's not moving, ma'am. I don't know how it has appeared. Please move this window away from your application. Let me see if I can click on this window. It's not moving also. I don't know what is wrong. It's still there?
Yes, sir, it is still there.
But I can't see this now. Yeah.
Okay, sir, it's okay. You can continue.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Probably, ma'am, I think you have to close the participants list from there. Is it this window open? Participants window is open on your screen?
No, sir, it's not open right now.
Okay, fine. Okay. So, so let's say now we are working on 20 variables. We are working on the variables on cultural adjustments. We have 20 variables, and we are trying to create factors for those 20 variables. And what we'll do first, we'll measure the frequency. So let's say we are trying to convert these. We are trying to move these 20 variables. I have a problem with my arrow keys, so maybe like I'll take a little bit more time to move these files. See, I have selected these 20 items. These 20 items means the 20 variables pertaining to cultural adjustment, right? Now these variables, they were in the left window. I am moving it to the right window. What does that mean? Like all the variables which are in right window, they can undergo analysis process, right? So what is the first thing I wish to see? The frequencies. Why do I need to see the frequencies? Because I told you like there is a data set of amounts, let's say about 200 something variable respondents. So I'm only just looking at the like only the frequencies, right? Okay. This is I'll say okay.
So participants are requested you to open this dialog box again, frequencies dialog box again.
Again?
Yeah.
Or otherwise, could you see the output window now?
No, sir, it's not visible now.
Output window is not visible?
No, sir.
Okay, let me close it. Then I'll have to go again to the. Can you see the data window now?
Now, yes, sir, it is visible now.
It's a data window?
Yes, it is a data window.
Okay. now let's say we are doing analysis. I go to analyze, right? In analyze, I go to descriptives. In descriptive, I am going to frequencies, right? So I have moved these 20 variables to the right window, and I want to see what is the status. So I go to the statistics, I click that and continue, right? And I say, okay, I don't know what is wrong with this, why this window is coming. And it's not moving. Can you see any? Can you see any output window? What do you say, Diksha? What to do?
Sir, it's a blank screen, gray blank screen.
But I can't see that blank screen. So how do we remove that? Okay, I'll share again, right? I'm stopping share. So I'll stop sharing. Then I'll pick up, choose share again. I'll go to SPSS. So I'll go to the output, share. Can you see the output window now?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So like what I did, like once I transferred those 20 variables from left side to right side, and in analyze in frequencies, I run the descriptive statistics, I got this. So what does it say? Like we have N203, C203, like all C, if you look at all the variables, this N is 203. What does that mean? Like we do not have any missing data in our, see, for all 20 variables, the number is 203. That means we have been able to capture the data for all the variables from all the respondents. So that means we do not have any missing value. We can move ahead with our factor analysis, right? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's move to the next step. Again, I have to close this window. Can you see the data file or no?
No, sir,
I think
only
again
output.
I have to toggle. Every time I have to share screen. Is this a data file now?
Yes, sir, it is a data file now.
Okay, fine. See, in this data file, now we'll run factor analysis. So first I'll give you how do we go about it, then I'll explain each and everything. So this is a data reduction technique I told you, like you go to analyze, right? From analyze, if you look at the drop down menu, there is one icon which says data reduction, dimension reduction, right? Can anybody, can all of you see dimension reduction? My cursor
Yes,
is on dimension reduction, and in dimension reduction there is a factors, right?
Sir, participants are requesting you to tell how to enter response.
That we did yesterday. That we did yesterday. Like how to enter responses, I think we have covered it yesterday.
Okay, sir.
Is there any specific question? Please ask if they have any specific question.
And one of them is asking, please tell label of C1 to C20.
Ma'am, I told you like this is data, some researchers, so the label, he's not sharing. Basically, these are different statements where the statements, few statements, they are correlated with each other, right?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, right? So the label is not available, like that rights that researcher has not given us to share the labels, because our idea is to understand the technique, right?
Okay, sir.
Right. So like this, in this dimension reduction, let's say I'm going to factor, right? Has anybody doubt in data entry? I think we covered it extensively yesterday, like how this sheet has come up.
Only one participant asks, sir, but everybody else is saying it already covered.
Yeah, fine. Okay, let's move ahead. So let's say, let's go to factor. Now, if you go to factor, okay, analyze factor. Now, if you go to factor, this window will appear. Can you see the window, new window? Where there are like 5 buttons: descriptives, extraction, rotation, scores, and options, right? So before we work on these 5 tabs, like what is the first thing which we'll do? Can you ask the participants what is the first thing which we'll do?
Waiting for responses, sir.
Yeah.
Extraction, sir.
Before extraction, I think we need to do something.
Select variables.
Yes, we need to select these 20 variables on which we have to perform factor analysis, and then we move it to the right window, right? So all those 20 variables on which we have to do factor analysis, that we have moved to the right window. Then let's try to understand these 5 things one by one. First is descriptive. So these are the things I think which we need to take care. Like in descriptive window, we need to click on anti-image correlation and then KMN correlates. Why do we need this? I'll explain it in the later part. Once we have output, we'll discuss it. So first, let us understand that in descriptive button, once it pops up, we need two basically we need 2 items. One is anti-image correlation and second is KMN-Barley test. So what is anti-image correlation? Why do we need that? And what is KMN-Barley test? We'll discuss while we are discussing our output. Is it clear in this thing? Then we say yes. Continue. Then second is extraction, right? So first we have description, then extraction. Extraction, I told you, like most of the time we'll be using the principal component. In principal component, we are using correlation matrix. We have a scree plot. We have unrotated solution. Then we have eigenvalues. I'll discuss while discussing output what is eigenvalue. And we for determining factors, we are saying like we'll try to bring out those factors which have eigenvalue more than 1. So what is eigenvalue and how like what is the logic behind it? We'll discuss it during the topic. First, let's learn like what are the steps, right? So click on eigenvalue. So eigenvalue greater than 1. Then we can fix the number of factors. We are not fixing the number of factors. Then maximum iterations for convergence, like for making that factors to be realistic and how many factors should be there, like we need to run many iterations. So normally, like let's say we run 200 iterations, we are not running more iterations, and let's say continue. So this is the second step. Third step is rotation, right? So in rotation, like there are different methods, Quantimax, Varimax, Equamax, direct overlapping, Promix, right? So again, once we have a output, I'll discuss with you why I am using Varimax. So like we are using Varimax method, right? And we need to have a rotated solution. By a rotated solution is very important. What is a rotated solution? Why do we need it? Again, once we have an output, we'll discuss that. First, I am discussing only the steps. And after the steps, once we have a output, why we have done all these things, we'll be discussing one by one, right? So again, like we can have iteration, let's say 200 iterations and continue. Is everybody with me till now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we have discussed what all we need in descriptives, what all we need in extraction, what all we need in rotation, right? I have not discussed why I have ticked this. That I'll be discussing while we'll be discussing the output of this, right? Then scores. Fourth button is scores. In scores, like we need to save it as variables, and we are using regression scores, and we'll continue, right? And display factor score coefficient matrix. We need to have that matrix also. So let's. So this is all what we have to do in scores. I believe like the participants, they are taking note of these steps, because once we are in output, then I'll be discussing why we are done this, right? So continue. And what is the last left now? These are the options, right?
So these are participants are asking.
Yes.
There is a question. What is the purpose of anti-image?
I'll come to that. Once let us come to the output, then I'll explain why do we need anti-image, right?
Okay, sir.
Let's wait for the output. I'll explain each and everything, right?
Okay, okay, sir.
Next is last is options. In options, we need to exclude cases list wise. Then we have to sort it by size. Sort it by size means like the coefficients, the variables which have higher correlation, they should come first, and subsequently in like descending order, the next and the next and the next, right? Once the output is there, I think the things will be more clear. Then we have to suppress smaller values. What does it mean? Like we need only those variables which have certain amount of correlation. So I'm saying like whenever we are displaying our factors, all the factors which have correlation, all the variables which have correlation more than zero 0.5 with their respective factor, they should be displayed. Otherwise, others should not be displayed. So if I wish to keep that absolute value like 0.5, so I have to make it here as 0.5. What does it mean? Like all the uh, like only those correlations will be shown, those who have value more than 0.5. All correlations between among factors and variables which have a correlation value less than 0.5, they'll not be displayed in the factor loading section. Is it clear? I think things will become more clear once we have a output. So I think we have discussed all the 5 buttons, like what all we need to take from all these 5 windows, right? So let us continue. Once we continue, let's say okay, and this will run the output, right? So okay. Now I have a output. I think you won't be seeing the output. Is the output
No,
visible?
no, sir, it is
I
not
think I need
visible.
to. Okay, I need to change the screen again. Uh, this is the output. Is this output visible now?
Yes, sir, it is visible now.
Okay. Now let's discuss one by one what from where we have started, right? So first thing, let's say KM and Bablis. If you like recollect or if you revisit in the first when we defined descriptives, I had asked you to click on KMO and Barley test. So what is KM and Barley test? KM and Barley test is basically it's a sample adequacy test. Basically, it tells us whether our sample is adequate or sufficiently large or is fit for applying factor analysis. How do we determine that? So the null hypothesis is like our sample is not adequate, or sample is not adequate for applying factor analysis. So we have to look at the p-value. So what is the p-value here? Can anybody tell me what is the p-value? Is it greater than 0.05 or it is less than 0.05? What is the p-value here?
Less than, sir.
Less than 0.5.
Participants
So
are
less
saying
than.
less than.
That means
Less
like
than
our sample is fit for, like we have rejected the null hypothesis, so we like our sample is fit for performing factor analysis, right? So the KMO and Barley test basically tells us that whether our sample is fit for factor analysis or not, right? Now the second thing what we had is anti-image correlation. Can everybody see the anti-image correlation? Can you see
Yes,
the
sir, it's
anti-image
visible.
correlation? Okay. See, now if you look at this anti-image correlation, let me move this window here. Anti-image correlation matrix starts from here. If you look at the lower part of this matrix, my cursor is moving. There are diagonal elements which have written A over them, right? Can you see?
Yes, sir.
The diagonal elements in anti-image correlation matrix, they have a like on the top there is written A, like raised to the power A, right? Now,
Yes,
why do
sir.
we use anti-image correlation? If you look at these elements, like all these values, you have to look at all these values, and all these values, they have to be more than 0.5, right? All these values in anti-image correlation, they have to be more than 5. Can you observe any value less than 0.05, 0.5? If you look at this, I hope all the values, they are more than 0.5. So if in case if any value is less than zero 0.5 in anti-image correlation, that means like we need to delete that particular statement. That particular statement is not suitable for factor analysis. So did you get now? Did you get the point? Why do we use anti-image correlation? In anti-image correlation for the diagonal elements, where there is like on the raised to the power there is a, all those cells, they should have value greater than zero 0.5, and if that value is less than zero 0.5, the corresponding variable that has to be deleted. So this is the first stage of deletion of item in uh, factor analysis. Can you take responses, ma'am? Is everybody clear?
Yes, sir. There is no question yet.
I think somebody asked, why do we use anti-image correlation? So anti-image correlation is nothing, but this is the first stage to check like whether we can proceed with all the items which we have considered in factor analysis or not. In case if there is any value less than 0.5, then we need to delete that item. Then again, we go back to the factor analysis initial stage. We need to move, like revert back that particular variable to the left-hand side window. Then we need to again run our those data reduction techniques. And again, we have to look at the anti-image correlation. And if the anti-image correlation, if all the cells on those diagonal cells, they are more than 0.5, we can go ahead, right? Now, next is communalities. Can you see the data pertaining to communalities, ma'am?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
No. What is communality? See, like if you look at the communalities table, there are 20 variables, right?
Sir,
And
sir, there is a question.
yes,
Why
please.
does anti-image covariance matrix show? What does anti-image covariance matrix show?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's a test that, like, see, technically, like covariances matrix, we do not have that time to go back and explain how it has been correlated because it's a detailed statistical part. The only thing is, like, we can say the anti-image correlation matrix tells us that means there is a certain item which has a problem of correlations with the items which are related to that, and we are creating an anti-image for that, for determining if it is less than 0.5, that means that item does not fit into the factor analysis treatment for further thing, right? So
Right.
next is communality. So communality gives basically variance accounted for a particular variable by all the factors. See, like let us say we have number of factors which we will be generating, and these communalities give that how much each variable account for the variance for all the factors taken together. Now, if you look at this, see, initial is 1, but once you have run the factor analysis, after extraction, these are the communalities. So what does 0.706 means? Can anybody tell? Like in C1, it is written 0.706. So what does it mean? Anybody?
Waiting for responses, sir.
Yeah.
There is no response yet, sir.
So basically it means like the item C1, like if we take all the factors together, item C1 explains 0.706 variance, right? So similarly, C2 explains 0.770 variance, right? So these are like how much each item explains the variation in all the factors taken together. And these communalities value, they have always to be greater than 0.5. Now, if you look at these communality values, is there any value less than 0.5? Is there any value less than 0.5?
Yes, sir. It's there at C14.
C14. That means like if community, like if that item, if all the factors together, taken together, and if that item explains less than 0.5 variation, that means that item should be dropped. So the second stage of deletion is you have to look at the communalities table, right? So what does that mean? Like we have to drop C14, right? And after dropping C14, we have to again run our factor analysis, right? And we have to again look at our anti-image correlation and commonality values. And we have to ensure that in both the values are greater than 0.5. So that means like till now, we have covered two stages of deletion. One is anti-image correlation stage and second is commonality stage. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Any questions till commonality?
No, sir, there is no question yet.
Okay, fine. Right. Then there is a next table, that is the total variance explained.
Sir, there is a question how to delete that where the point amount is less than 0.5.
Okay, okay. How do we delete that? Very simple. Like you again go to analyze, right? So once from left hand side, you are like in right hand side, you have 20 variables, right? From C1 to C20, right? Now you wish to delete C14. So you revert back C14 from right hand window to left hand window. So you'll have now left with 19 variables, like from C1 to C20 except C14. And again, you have to run the entire process. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Sir, there is one more question.
Yeah.
That in C5, the value is 0.498, which is almost equal to 5.
Right.
Is there any need to drop that item also, or it is okay with that?
See, ma'am, these are basically like certain techniques, they are subjective techniques. Like you cannot always go by the rule. Like in once as a researcher, you have to apply your own mind also and the significance of that particular item. I think 0.498, it's a researcher's call, like whether he wants to drop it or not. Like if it is very close to the threshold or the cutoff level, like we may retain that item.
Okay, sir.
Right? It's purely researcher's call. Like if a researcher feels that that item is important and that is a borderline case and he or she wants to retain, like we can retain that item and we can give a note while writing our paper or thesis that this item though has a 0.498 because it was very close to 0.5 and it is an important item for this data. So we are retaining this item. So we can always give a note.
Okay, sir.
Right?
Right.
So is it clear up to commonality? Okay. Next table is, if you look at the output, that next table is total variance, right? So in total variance table, again, I think there is a gray screen, ma'am.
Yes, sir. No, sir, it's visible.
It's visible. Okay, that's great. Now, if you look at this output of total variance explained, there are three columns. First is initial eigenvalues, right? Second part is extracted sum of square loadings, and third is rotated sum of square loadings. Can you see there are three parts? There are
Yes,
three
sir.
columns. One is initial eigenvalues, second is squared loadings, third is rotated sum of square loadings. Right? If you look at the first part, in first part, what has happened? Like it has considered all the 20 items as individual factors and how much variance is explained by each and how much cumulative variance is explained, right? So let's try to understand. Can I move on to PPT? Let me see if I can move on to PPT. I have to toggle. I have to stop sharing. Stop sharing. I'm going to my PPT.
It is visible, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not making it. We have discussed this. So like this, let's try to correlate it with the PPT. See, we have used PCA method, right? Then factor loadings. Like next we'll be discussing factor loadings. Factor loading is nothing, whatever factors we have extracted for the observed variables, right? So we'll try to correlate these coefficients between factors and observed variables. and higher the loading, likely is that underlying factor. Let's explain that. I'll again toggle back to that screen, ma'am. Please give me some time. Stop sharing. Again, go back to next screen share. I'll go to the output window. Right. So we are again on the output window. If you look at this window, see there are certain initial eigenvalues. What are eigenvalues? What are eigenvalues? Basically, if you look at the eigenvalues, eigenvalues are basically like used to determine how many factors I'll be extracting. So what we defined in our eigenvalues, हमने कितना define किया था eigenvalue, कितनी define की थी? More than one, right? जब हमने tables में eigenvalue को define किया था, I defined that those items which have eigenvalue more than one, those factors which have eigenvalue more than one, only those factors should be. Now, if you look at this data, see, if you look at this data after extraction, these are the 6 factors which have eigenvalue more than one. If you look at the total eigenvalue after 6th, the eigenvalue has gone down from 1. So they have not considered those eigenvalues. So what does eigenvalue give? Eigenvalue basically gives us a cutoff for the number of factors, right? So if we have eigenvalue more than 1, that means there are 6 factors which have eigenvalue more than 1. So that means like this is what is this? This is the variance which is explained by each factor for this particular phenomenon. So that means like first factor is 5.617, 1.655, 1.375, 1.274. These are the different eigenvalues, and this is the percentage of variance explained by each factor. Can anybody tell me like how do we compute percentage of variance from the eigenvalue? Can anybody tell me?
No responses yet, sir.
See, like this is the first test where we can find like whatever data has been used by the researcher, whether that data has been forced, whether that data has been fudged, or that is a fake data. This is the first check from where like a researcher or a evaluator can make whether the data is correct or not. See, like if you look at these eigenvalues and this percentage variance is always derived from the eigenvalue. So percentage variance is nothing but eigenvalue divided by number of items into 100. How many number of items we are using in this? How many items we are using in this, ma'am? Any response?
No, sir, there is no response yet. 20.
20. Great. So that means the eigenvalue is for the first factor. What is the eigenvalue? 5.617, right?
Right.
And the number of items are 20. And if we divide it by number of items and multiply it by 100, what is the value coming? Can anybody give me that calculation? I'll also do 5.617 into
25.83.
28.085, right? So it's nothing but the same value percentage of variance. Can you see in the next column? It's the same value, right? Is everybody getting, ma'am? Is everybody with me?
Yes, sir.
Is everybody clear like how percentage of variance is determined from eigenvalue? So what happens at time, like researchers or students, what they do, like just to manipulate their data to show more variance, what will they do? They'll change figures in the percentage of variance column. But they may not be aware that these values, they could be cross-checked from the eigenvalues. So please don't try to cheat the evaluator by changing your percentage of variance, because that could always be verified, right? And the next column is percentage of variance to the cumulative percentage. What is cumulative percentage? Cumulative percentage is nothing but, like in the first column, it is the 28%. In the second column, the factor 2 value has been added, 28.8, 28 plus 8%, 36%. In the third column, then 36% plus 6%, 43%. So this is the cumulative value. What does it mean? Like all the factors taken together, they explained how much variance? 60.644%. Means all these 6 factors taken together, they explain 60.64% of the variance, right, in this particular phenomenon, right? But if you look at this percentage variance, if you look at this, see, like on factor 1, it's highly skewed towards factor 1. Like this, these are not optimized value. So normally what happens, once we have run our factor analysis and we have not rotated our component matrix, what will happen? The maximum loading will go to the first factor. Now, if you look at this, the 28% loading has gone to the first factor, and the rest of the factor, some has 8%, another has 6%, another has 6%, 5%, 5%. So factor loading, what it does, it like maximizes the higher correlation and minimizes the lower correlations. And after that rotation, what happens? If you look at the last second column, like third block, the percentage of variance has changed. Can you see that? The percentage of variance for each factor has changed. The eigenvalue for each factor has changed, but the total variance explained is still same. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Can participants make out that the total variance explained is same in both the cases, though like individual variance explained by each factor has got optimized, like from 28%, it has moved to other factors and it has been like optimized, but without losing any on the total variance explained. So please make sure that once we are having a rotated component matrix, like once we are going for rotation, after rotation, we should not lose the total variance explained. It should be same. Is it clear? Ma'am, is it clear?
Yes, sir,
Can we move ahead?
To participants.
So is it clear, like what is the role of eigenvalue? What is the role of communalities? What is the role of anti-imaging? Why do we use KMO values? And what is the variance explained? Why do we rotate matrix? So these are the few reasons, right? So probably at the end of this exercise, I'll try to explain it using PPT also, because I have PPT notes on all these things. So I'm not sharing those PPT notes first, because you will not be able to visualize what we have done. So let's first try to visualize, and then I'll go back to the PPTs so that you can visualize what we are reading in PPTs, right? Okay, fine. So next
there is a question.
Please go ahead.
What is the practical meaning of rotation?
Can we discuss it later in the PPT?
Okay, sir. So there is another question. What is the purpose of Varimax rotation?
I'll come to that once we move on to PPT.
And another question is, what does the column total 2.383 tells about? That is on the extreme right, third column from the right. 2.383.
Yeah. See, this is the eigenvalue for the factor 1 after rotation. See, earlier the eigenvalue for the factor 1 was 5.617. That is why variance was coming higher, right? We have optimized this eigenvalue, the variance explained, and that is why if you see, like in the factors 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the eigenvalue was close to 1, which has increased from to 2, from 1 to 2. So basically, after rotation with Varimax rotation, we have been able to like readjust the higher correlations.
Okay, sir.
Right. So next is scree plot. Scree plot is again like what is scree plot? I have told you, like scree plot is again an alternative to eigenvalues to determine the number of factors. See, if you look at this scree plot basically tells us like all those, like where the elbow is there. So normally the elbow starts once the eigenvalue is more than falls below 1. So that means like if the scree plot gives us an estimation that how many number of factors will be there. But this is not a very robust method to determine the number of factors. So that is why we always use eigenvalues to determine the number of factors, eigenvalues, the values which are more than 1, right? So it's only a graphical representation of identifying how many number of factors we need to use, how many factors we are extracting, right? Okay. Then there is a component matrix. Component matrix is nothing. What it is basically like factor loading of each item in each factor. So what does it mean? In component matrix, if I say this 0.683, what does it mean? Can anybody tell me what is the meaning of 0.683? Anybody can explain?
Waiting for responses, sir.
Please, ma'am.
No responses, sir.
Okay. So this tells us
Variance.
that the, yeah.
Sir,
Is there any response?
variance. Yes,
Pardon?
sir, there is a response. There is a response. They said it explains variance.
No, it's not variance. It is basically the correlation between factor 1 and the corresponding item C15. So it tells that the C15 variable is the correlation of C15 variable with the factor 1 is 0.683. Right? Now, if you look at this matrix, right, on the left side, there are different variables, and on the top side, there are 6 factors which we have determined. And in each column, what we have correlation values. And if you look at these correlation values, there are correlation values mentioned only which are more than 0.5. And all other correlation values which are less than 0.5, they are not displayed. Can you observe that? Like all these empty columns are not empty. In fact, they are shown empty. Why? Because correlation in these cells is less than 0.5. And when we defined our in our window in SPSS, like in analysis window, I had like written there like suppress all correlations which are less than 0.5. So all values which are less than 0.5 that have been suppressed. This empty cell does not mean that there is no correlation. The only thing is those values are lesser than 0.5. That is why they are not getting displayed. Because if those values are getting displayed, our table gets messy and it will become difficult for us to identify visually that what are all those items which are related with different factors. Are people getting? Ma'am, any question on this, on component matrix?
Sir, there is no question yet.
Should I wait?
So you can continue. If there is any question, I'll let you know.
Can I have some water, please?
Yes, sir. You sure?
Yeah, thank you. So,
sir, there is a question.
I was waiting for that. Yeah.
Is there any need to fix that, or it can extract itself?
For the factors?
Yes, sir.
No, it will extract itself, but at least we need to define the cutoff point. Like we have defined, because eigenvalue is the key to define how many factors we'll have. Like in case, if you are not defining factors, how many factors you want to have, then there is no point in running factor analysis exercise. Like if you have 20 items and if you are not saying how many factors you want, it will give you 20 factors, then there is no point, because basically it is a data reduction technique. And to what extent you want to reduce your data, at least you should make that clear to the software, right?
Okay, sir.
And there has to be a cutoff. So, but that cutoff is very sensible. I'm saying eigenvalue 1. Like if eigenvalue is less than, eigenvalue is nothing. Eigenvalue is basically related to the variance explained by that particular item in that particular factor. And the statisticians, like over the period, by their experiences and experiments, they have determined that eigenvalue 1 is the right cutoff to determine that number of factors. Right?
Okay, sir. There's
I think,
one more question.
I think,
Is this component extracted factor?
pardon, man?
Sir, they are asking, is this component matrix shows correlation between extracted factors and other 20 observation?
Yes, exactly. Like if I look at the column 1, in column 1, if you look at, see, these items are not in serial order. So first is C15, second is C19, third is C17, 14. Why it is so? Because while defining, once we gave a command, I had given you like it should be in a ascending order. Like we tick the column that the highest value should come first, and subsequently the lower value, subsequently the lower value, subsequently the lower value. Now, if you look at this matrix, see the highest correlation is 0.683 and it is coming first. What does that mean? That factor 1 has a correlation with item C15 and that correlation value is 0.683. So similarly, all other cells could be explained. Can anybody explain me what does this 0.507 means? Just to cross check you have understood. What does this 0.507 means? Can anybody explain in the chat box?
So waiting for responses.
Yeah.
It is a negative statement, negative correlation, negative relation of C20 with factor 3, negative correlation. These all are the responses.
With correlation
And
of
one
what? Correlation of what?
C20 with factor 3.
C20 with factor 3. Okay. This was the table I asked, 0.507. Yes. This says this is the value of correlation between C20 and factor 3. So this is nothing. So the correlation between factor and that particular item is correlation is, what is this correlation called? This is nothing but this is called factor loading. Right? So factor loading is nothing, but it is the correlation between the factor and the item and the underlying factor. The correlation between these two is known as the factor loading. Can we move ahead, ma'am?
Right. Sir, there is a question.
Yeah.
That is, what is the convergent validity and construct validity in factor analysis?
I think, ma'am, we are not discussing it today. Tomorrow, I think Dr. Rishi Raj will be explaining this thing in detail on convergent validity and all that, because that's altogether a separate area and that it's like a huge, lot of discussion, right?
Okay, sir. So there is one more question. If we are
Because
taking
then we'll
structured
sidetrack.
question,
Yes.
no issue, sir. So there is one more question. If we are taking structured questionnaire having different factors or variables, that can be apply factor analysis to that skill?
No, ma'am, it depends. Like how, like you have designed your, basically your, how have you built your model? Basically, like the day before, like Professor Benny had explained, like once you fix your model, if your model has certain items which represent certain constructs, then only we can go for factor analysis. Basically, factor analysis is only like it's a theory building process, like a phenomena which is unexplored. Basically, like we are trying to identify, let's say, like let's say we wish to launch oxygen gas, like we are selling distillery waters, so we want to sell small bottles of oxygen in areas in metro cities where there is a like oxygen is not available. Now, what are all those factors which will persuade customers to buy those oxygen cylinders? I think like it is very difficult to understand. So we need to generate certain items, we need to generate certain variables, maybe 30 variables, 40 items, 50 items, 60 items, and on based on those items we'll have those factors. So that is how we go for factor analysis. And I didn't understand like what exactly what is the question now?
So it's okay, we can move forward.
Yeah, why? Because if you have collected data on Likert scale, and on Likert scale, that data, those items are the correlated items. There are certain items which are correlated among them, and there are different subsets which are uncorrelated. Then only we can go for factor analysis,
Okay, sir.
right?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So once we have gone to the component matrix, next is rotated component matrix. Now, you see now this matrix looks very beautiful. If you go back to your this total variance explained table, I had shown you like there was one variance explained before rotation and another was after rotation. So rotated component matrix is nothing but factor loadings after rotation, right? So we have done Varimax rotation. Where do we do Varimax rotation? I think somebody had asked. Like once we are aware that whatever factors we are building, like whatever factors we are constructing, if those factors are uncorrelated, then we go for Varimax rotation. But if theory suggests that the factors which we are going to extract, they have some correlation among them, then we go for orthogonal rotation. Does that answers your question? Somebody had asked, like why we have chosen Varimax. Varimax we do once we have uncorrelated factors. If the theory suggests that there is some correlation among factors also, then we go for the orthogonal, right? So we are not going to discuss like what is Varimax, what is orthogonal, how this science has been developed, because this is a detailed, I think we have to go into much statistical part, right? Rather it is a mathematical part, right? So next is like rotated component matrix. Can everybody see rotated component matrix?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, can anybody explain me what it is? If I ask, what is this?
No responses yet.
Can anybody explain me this output?
So they are saying correlation.
Correlation of what? What does this mean? Like if you look at this item, so this shows that factor 1 consists of 3 items, C20, C19, C18. These 3 items, they are correlated, and this each item has a correlation with factor 1, 0.852, 0.77, and 0.632. What does it mean? That these 3 items, they are correlated among each other, and all these 3 items, they have a correlation with the, and all these 3 correlated items, they have been clubbed together under the name factor 1. Is it clear?
Yes, sir, it is clear.
So similarly, if I look at this, what is it? It says that item C9, item C6, item C10, all these 3 items, they are highly correlated with each other, and together they form a factor which is factor 2, right? And the correlation of with factor 2 of item C9 is 0.772, with this it is 730, with it is 0.672. Is it clear?
Yes,
Any
sir.
questions, please? Because,
No.
okay, fine. So that means like we have been able to create we have been able to create 6 factors, and each factor has certain number of items, right? So this data is basically because this data, we are using certain experimental data. So I think the factors have come up very nicely, and there could be so like there are 2 items in factor 6, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, and like but normally it is suggested that if we have to go for further confirmatory factor analysis on all that, we should have at least 3 items in each factor. But because we are stopping at factors, we are exploring a new thing. So because at times we accept certain factors which have only 1 item. It depends upon the nature of study, but normally like it's always advisable that we should have minimum 3 items in each factor so that we can go further for CFA in case if it is desired, right? Is everybody clear on this component, rotated component matrix? So what is the beauty? How does it differ from component matrix? How does it differ, rotated component matrix? How does it differ? Anybody can tell me? What is the difference between a component matrix and a rotated component matrix? Any replies, ma'am?
No replies yet, sir.
Okay.
One of them is saying component matrix shows correlation,
Right.
and rotated one shows which items can be clubbed together.
No, this is again correlation. That also showed which items could be clubbed together. Only thing is, this is after rotation. It has optimized after rotation. It has optimized higher correlations and lower correlations separately. Now, if you look at this, like this is not different from component matrix. Only thing is, it has optimized those factor loadings. These are also factor loadings. In component matrix, also those are factor loadings. The only thing is, these are optimized factor loadings, giving true picture where like the total variance have been optimized, right? So there is no difference between component matrix and rotated component matrix. The only thing is, after rotation, we have a optimized solution where higher correlations have been put together and lower correlations have been put together, right?
Right, sir.
So, this is how like we have different factors, and so I think this we need not to discuss here. Let me see what is left in this. Yeah. So this is how we make factors. So let me go to the PPT part. Then we'll come at the scale reliability. How much more time we have, ma'am?
So it's 6:17 right now.
So how long we can go, ma'am? Can you check with Priyanka, ma'am?
Just a minute, sir.
Meanwhile, let me go to my PPT.
Okay, sir.
Because sir, I think we can little bit.
Yes, ma'am. How much more time we have?
Just I think 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes you can take, okay, and we can wind up.
Okay, fine, ma'am. Okay. Now let's quickly run through what we have learned. I am trying to now correlate it with the PPT. So we used PCA method. So what are factor loadings? I think now you will be able to understand what are factor loadings. Like factor analysis produces factor loadings for each of the extracted factor and observed variables, right? So correlation coefficients between the factors and the observed variables is known as factor loading. I think it's clear now. Correlation coefficient between the factors and the observed variable. Higher the loadings, more likely is that that factor will be underlying that factor, right? So next, like somebody had a question, rotation. There are rotations, orthogonal rotations, oblique rotation, right? Orthogonal rotation we use when underlying factors are uncorrelated with each other. And oblique rotation we use when there are certain theoretical reasons to use, like when there are certain theoretical reasons which says that there is some correlation among the factors also. And in orthogonal, we have three techniques: Varimax, Quantimax, and Equimax. These are nothing but three different mathematical procedures used for orthogonal rotation. So the first decision we need to take is whether I am using orthogonal or oblique, right? So if my factors are uncorrelated, I'll use orthogonal. If my factors are correlated, I'll use oblique. Because most of the studies what we are conducting, we are making uncorrelated factors, so we use orthogonal. And in orthogonal there are three techniques: Varimax, Quantimax, and Equimax. These three techniques are nothing but these are the three different routes, right? Maybe like if you have to go to Chandigarh, I have to go to Chandigarh from Batinda, I may go via Ludhiana, I may go via Sangrur, I may go via Sunam. So these are the three different mathematical routes. So maybe there may be certain differences, but more or less these are different mathematical techniques, and we are following Varimax, right? And commonalities. I discussed you the variance accounted for a particular variable by all the factors. एक variable कितनी variance cause करता है, all the factors taken together, those are called commonalities. I think now you can visualize what were the commonalities. So the sum of square loadings for a variable across all the factors. Higher the value, higher is the amount of variance explained for that extracted factor. I think whatever I am saying now you can correlate it with the output, right? Next is eigenvalue and scree plot. What is eigenvalue? To decide the number of underlying factors after extraction. So after extraction, how many factors would be there? We use eigenvalue. So eigenvalue is the measure of total variance in the data explained by a factor. So एक variance, total variance कितनी explain करता है एक factor? That is the measure which is given by eigenvalue, right? So what we have taken, that we have taken as 1. So more than 1 is to be a meaningful factor, right? Then scree plot. What is scree plot? Scree plot is nothing but it is a graphical representation of eigenvalues of all the factors. So it is only a graphical like a way to represent the number of factors, right? So I think now you can correlate it with the output. Then next is scale reliability. This part we have not done. That how do we check Cronbach alpha? So developed scale has to be tested for validity and reliability, and Cronbach alpha coefficients establishes the scale reliability. Basically, this is the indicator of internal consistency of scale. And if Cronbach alpha is more than 0.7, so better it is. We can retain that. That means that scale is internally consistent. So if we have time, ma'am, we can quickly do this process of scale reliability on SPSS. Otherwise, like for factor analysis, I think we are through. What is your take, ma'am?
Sir, I think we are over the time, but if you can run through that thing within, I think how much time it will take?
Ma'am, I think because for scale reliability, I need to have, you just give me 5 minutes.
Okay, before there are some participants, they're asking little question. Can we put?
I think let's take questions first. I'll stop the screen. Let's take questions first.
Some participants are asking what is the minimum value for KMO and Bartlett test?
No, I had told you there is no minimum value. It's only p-value which defines. If p-value is less than 0.05, then we can go ahead with the like that means our sample is adequate for running factor analysis.
Okay.
It's only p-value we have to check, the significance value. Right?
One of the participants is asking that in case you have suppressed value less than 0.5 in rotated composite matrix, can you quote any reference for it in case for such a case?
Yes, ma'am. There are a lot of papers, those who have mentioned, or you can mention like Andy Field books that also mention, but like it's a thumb rule we are using. Like maybe like it's purely researcher's call. Maybe you can suppress it up to 0.4 also. It depends upon your nature of study. But as a thumb rule, we are taking it 0.5. So we can refer, like if you wish to move it to 0.4, you can find a relevant paper where it has been taken as 0.4. And we can always make a citation that this paper has taken value as 0.4. So we are taking factor loadings above 0.4. So it all depends upon the citation.
0.5 is acceptable, I think.
0.5 is very much acceptable. But in case like
it always depends on the researcher.
That's right, ma'am. Because a lot of subjectivity is involved in research. Because if everything has to be done by the computer, then like I think the role of researchers will go away. So the final call is always the researcher's call.
Some participants are asking about the explanation of total variance tables. So we can give your number, and they can have inquiry from you personally, I think.
Yes, ma'am. I'll request only to please WhatsApp your inquiries. Please don't make calls. I'm so sorry. Like whatever queries you have, I like you can take my phone number, but please WhatsApp your queries and I'll answer back if I'm capable enough.
You can proceed, Dr. Vikas, and just we can wind up the session. You can go for
skill reliability, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, let me go to first the output file. Where is our output file? This is output file. I'm sharing it. So let's say like okay, now let's say we have 6 scales, right? 6 factors, right? So the first scale is consists of 3 statements, C20, C19 and C18, right? This is the first factor, right? So now we need to like check the internal consistency, Cronbach alpha for this scale, whether it is more than 0.7 or not, right? So like let's remember the statements. Let me write it. Like we have to do scale reliability for C20, C20, C19 and C18 taken together, right? So let's again go back to our data file. Can you see the data set, ma'am? Is my data set visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in data set, now you go to analyze. In analyze, there is an like in drop down menu, there is written scale. Are you with me? Could you find scale?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In scale, like further, there are 4 options, and we need to click at the first one, the reliability analysis. Right?
Right.
So I'm clicking at the reliability analysis. Now I have all the items on the left-hand side, but I need to conduct reliability analysis on 3 items, right? So what are those 3 items? C18, C19, and C20. Right? And I'm trying to build a alpha model, scale label. Let's say I'm trying to say that this is factor 1. I'm trying to check reliability for factor 1. Statistics. In statistics, I don't need much. See, this is very important. In descriptives, I think we must say that the scale if item deleted. What does it mean? Like I have 3 items in that scale, and if I remove particular item from that scale, whether it will improve the reliability of scale or not. So this is the third stage. I think we have not discussed one stage earlier because we didn't have in our data set the cross loadings, because nobody asked question. I was expecting that questions, that if there are cross loadings in the rotated component matrix, how do we do that? Could you do you like, I think our participants aware what are cross loadings? Ma'am, are they aware what are cross loadings? Cross loading is when one item is highly correlated with more than one factors. Like a item falls in factor 1 also, in factor 2 also. Then how do we do that? How do we choose whether it should go to factor 1 or factor 2? So what researchers say, like either we have a certain we have done certain thing wrong in while building our theory, or maybe like if there is a cross loading, we have to drop that statement. So but it's very dangerous. So the situation of cross loading should not come. So let's go to the scale. So scale item if deleted, and we just say continue, right? And okay for the factor 1. Let me share the output. I have to again go to stop sharing. Then again I have to share screen. I have to share output. Where is the output? Okay. share. Okay. Can you see the?
Yes, sir. We can see the output.
Okay. See, now this is the reliability output for factor 1, right? So what does it say? Like we had 203 cases. That means 100% cases have been considered in this scale. Reliability, how much cronbach alpha it is giving? 0.720. So 0.720 means the value is more than 0.7. So it's fairly good that this scale is acceptable from internal consistency point of view. Now, but if you look at the lower part, sorry. Now, if you look at these 3 items, see, this is the total reliability of this scale, 0.720, all the 3 items taken together. Now, there is one table, item-wise total statistics. What does it say? Like if we remove particular item, what will happen? The scale reliability will improve. Now, if you see at this, if we remove C18, the alpha can improve further. So like we need to check, we need to take a call, like whether 0.720 is acceptable or we want to increase our scale reliability. Again, we have to delete a particular item. Once you delete item at this stage, then again you have to run the entire process again, right from the beginning, right from the KMO to NT image. Like every time we delete any item from the our questionnaire, our instrument, our scale, we have to revisit the entire process and we have to relook at the results. Why? Because deleting this item may put some other problem in some other thing. It may cause some problem in NT image. It may cause some problem in other issues, communalities or other issues. So like we need to take decision very consciously that what should I be deleting. So this is scale reliability. I have checked only scale reliability only for one factor. So similarly, we can do scale reliability check for all the 6 factors. So we have scale reliability, we have factors, we have factor loadings. So we can, how do we write output? I think we do not have time. How do we write these outputs in the research paper? Maybe later we can share that. How do we tabulate these various outputs in a research paper? Why? Because we cannot present our findings in such long tables. So there is a concise table which we have to design for giving our details. So that's all from my side on factor analysis. Over to Diksha ma'am, if there are any queries or maybe Dr. Bhalla, like.
So I think it's already too late now. We should wind up, na? Diksha.
Yes, sir.
Just say thanks to Dr. Vikas, and then we should meet for tomorrow.
Sure, sir. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our worthy speakers for taking up such an insightful session and for sharing profound and incited words with our participants. Thank you so much, sir. We would really look forward to meet you in person and conduct such workshop in person with you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Vikas.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving me an opportunity, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Bhalla, there is a lot of requests coming from the participants. They want Dr. Vikas should share some name of some good books on statistics that we can take his help and share in WhatsApp group.
Ma'am, probably I'll send a message to you, or maybe like one is Andy Field, from for SPSS, and another is like Zickman and Babin for research methodology. So
we will share that. I think Dr. Bhalla.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that, sir. I'll send the citations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everybody, sir.
Okay, Vikas, end this meeting.
Thank you so much, sir. Can we end the meeting, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.